Ever get that feeling when you're speaking English? You know what you want to say, but it just doesn't quite sound right, like how you hear native speakers.
Hmm.
Or maybe you just want your speaking to flow a bit better, feel more natural.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really common feeling.
Well, if that sounds like you're definitely in the right place today. We're going to dive into this technique called shadowing. It's supposedly quite powerful for getting that natural flow.
It really is. And our way into this is this fantastic YouTube video. It's from the English with Lucy channel.
Oh yeah, which one?
It's called Practice Speaking and Reading Out Loud with this English Shadowing Exercise.
Yeah.
And what's great is how practical it is. She uses the simple act of making tea.
Making tea?
Yeah, making a cup of tea, and uses that as a sort of framework for some really useful pronunciation tips.
Okay, tea making. Sounds pretty ordinary, doesn't it?
It does, but that's kind of the genius of it. By the end of this, you'll see how just following those steps is packed with chances to, really refine your English sounds.
So our mission today, then, is to really unpack this shadowing thing, get into what it is, and look at the specific pronunciation bits Lucy points out in the video.
Exactly. We want to pull out some things you can actually use, things that can genuinely help your fluency, maybe your confidence too.
Right, and maybe find some surprising links between, I don't know, stirring your tea and advanced pronunciation.
You might just. It's pretty interesting how it all connects.
Okay, let's get into it. So first things first, what is shadowing? What does it actually involve?
Okay, so the core idea is you listen to someone speaking and you speak along with them, but like just a tiny fraction of a second behind them.
Echoing them almost.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
But you're trying to copy everything, not just the words, how they pronounce the sounds, the intonation, the melody of their voice.
The ups and downs.
Exactly. And the rhythm, the timing. Lucy, in the video, she describes it as copying what she says almost at the same time she's saying it.
Okay, so it's not passive listening at all. It's really active work, trying to replicate the whole sound.
Precisely. It's very active engagement.
And the video suggests this active approach brings real benefits. What kind of improvements are we talking about?
Well, Lucy emphasizes quite a few things. Better fluency, for one, just getting more comfortable with the pace of speaking, sharper pronunciation of individual sounds, obviously, and also becoming more aware of intonation patterns, that sort of musicality of English,
Yeah.
and a big one, understanding and using connected speech.
Ah, how words sort of blend together.
Exactly. So you don't sound like you're reading words off a list, but like you're actually talking.
Right. Now, you said she uses making tea to structure this. That's pretty clever. How does that work? What are the stages?
Yeah, it works really well. She breaks it down into 3 main phases. First, there's the prep, choosing the tea, the mug, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Then, second, the actual brewing process, putting the bag in, the water, letting it steep.
Makes sense.
And the third stage is just, enjoying the tea, adding milk, maybe a biscuit, savoring it. And each stage becomes a backdrop for different pronunciation points.
Got it. A familiar routine to hang the lesson on. Okay, let's tackle stage 1 then, the preparation. What's the first pronunciation thing Lucy brings up here? Consonant to vowel linking.
That's the first one, yeah. Consonant to vowel linking. Think about a phrase like, first of all.
Okay, first of all.
In natural speech, we don't usually say first of all with clear breaks. The final T sound in first tends to link smoothly onto the O of.
Ah, so it becomes more like first off.
Exactly. And then the V sound in of links to the A in all, so you get something sounding like first of all.
First of all.
Right.
It flows much better. Why does that happen, phonetically speaking?
Well, it's really about efficiency for our mouths. It takes less effort to glide from a consonant into a following vowel than it does to stop the airflow completely and then start the vowel sound.
Less effort, smoother sound. Okay. Lucy compares it to festival.
Yeah, she points out how those sounds run together inside that one word, just like they do between words and first of all. And she gives other examples from the tea context, like blend in a bag.
Blend in a bag, yeah, I can hear it. And face on it.
Facken, same principle. It smooths out the speech and actually makes it easier for listeners to process too.
Okay, linking consonants to vowels makes sense. What's next in the preparation stage? Identical consonant sounds, like in finest tea.
Right, finest T. Now you see the T at the end of finest and the T at the start of T.
Yeah, so you say both. Like finest tea sounds a bit clunky.
It does sound clunky, and that's generally not what happens with these sounds, these plosive sounds like T, D, K, G, P, B.
Plosives where you stop the air, then release it?
Exactly. When you have two identical plosives back to back like that, you don't usually do two separate releases. Instead, you kind of form the mouth position for the first one. Hold it just a fraction longer.
Hold the T.
Yeah, hold that stop position slightly longer and then release directly into the second word. So it's more like fine stiddy, with one slightly elongated closure, not two distinct tep pops.
Ah, okay, so you don't skip it, you just merge them by holding.
Precisely. She also gives the example not to skip. Same idea with the double T.
Got it. Subtle, but it definitely sounds smoother. What's the next point from the prep stage?
Then there's the idea of lengthening other consonant sounds, not just plosives, like in will likely.
Will likely, two L sounds.
Right. Here, you don't pause between them. The L sound at the end of will just stretches, it flows right into the L at the start of likely.
So it's like will likely.
A longer L.
Exactly. A sustained L sound that connects the words seamlessly. No break, not clipped.
Okay, that makes sense too. It keeps the flow going.
Sure.
Next up, Lucy mentions a linking howl sound in many of.
Yeah, this is another cool linking feature. It happens when a word ends in that long E vowel sound, the as sound, like in many.
Okay, many ends in E. And the next word starts with a vowel sound. Even a weak one, like the schwa sound in the weak form of, V.
Right.
What often happens is a little Y sound, like the Y in yes, the J sound, gets inserted between them.
So many of sounds like.
Many V. Many J of. It's like a little glide, a bridge, making the jump between the two vowel sounds smoother.
Many V. Huh. I think I do hear that. It's subtle. And she mentions the weak form of specifically.
Yes, which is a good reminder that pronunciation isn't static. It changes depending on stress and importance in the sentence.
Fascinating stuff. Okay, now something about her accent, modern RP, the letter R.
Right. In her accent and many similar British accents, the hurar sound is typically only pronounced if there's a vowel sound immediately after it.
Only before a vowel.
Generally, yeah. So she contrasts for A. You hear the R because A starts with a vowel sound.
For Okay. But for me, the M in me is a consonant sound, so the R in for usually isn't pronounced, it's silent.
For right. That's a key non-rhotic accent feature. Good to be aware of. Definitely helps with both understanding and sounding authentic if that's the accent you're aiming for.
Okay, one more from the prep stage. This sounds fun, T and ye. Sounds combining, like in what you're thinking.
Yeah, this is called assimilation. It's another efficiency thing. When you have a T sound right before a J sound, like in what you...
T, T, and J?
The positions your tongue makes for those two sounds are really close together, so it's just easier and quicker to merge them into a single sound.
And that sound is?
The T sound, the G and J. So what you very naturally becomes what J.
What you're thinking. It absolutely does. The sounds just crash together and make a new one.
Pretty much. A more streamlined sound.
Okay, prep stage done. We've got our tea, our mug. Now for stage 2, brewing. What pronunciation nuggets does Lucy dig up here?
First up in brewing are the th sounds. Always a classic point for learners.
Ah, yes, the Cullen A.
Exactly. Lucy clarifies the two types. First, the unvoiced, like in 3 or 30. For this one, your tongue tip is just lightly between your teeth or just behind the top teeth, and you push air through. No voice, no vibration.
Right, just air.
Then there's the voiced one, A, like in that the, then, same tongue position basically, but this time you vibrate your vocal cords. AA.
Big A, got it. And she warns against mixing them up with T and D.
Yeah, she points out that if you keep your tongue inside your mouth behind your teeth completely, you're likely to make a T or D sound instead, so that tongue position is key.
Physical placement really matters.
Right.
Okay, what's next will the T brews?
Another linking sound, this time a linking W.
A W sound appearing. How does that work?
It tends to happen between words where the first word ends in a rounded vowel, sound like the oohs in now or the oohs into.
Rounded lips.
And the next word starts with any vowel sound. A little W sound can slip in to bridge the gap.
Examples.
She gives now is the time, which might sound a bit like now is the time.
Now is.
And maybe need to ask could sound like need to ask. Again, it's just easing that transition between vowels.
Another sonic bridge. It really shows how connected speech aims for flow. Okay, what else? Something about contractions. Dropping the T.
Yes. This is quite common in informal speech. She explains that the final T sound in negative contractions like can't or don't is often dropped, especially if the next word starts with a consonant sound.
So not always, but often before a consonant.
Exactly. So, I can't stress this enough might sound like I can't stress.
Can't stress.
Or don't squeeze the tea bag could become don't squeeze. And can't take it might be can't take it.
Okay. Did she say you have to do this?
No, she mentions it's optional, but it definitely makes speech sound faster and more fluent, more relaxed.
Interesting. It's one of those little things that adds to the natural rhythm.
Right, final point in the brewing stage. D and U blending. Like should you.
Very similar to the T and U we saw earlier. When a D sound comes just before a J sound, like the Y and U, they often merge.
D plus J equals. Equals the D sound, the J sound in judge. So should you often sounds like should you.
Should you? Got it. Another case of sounds merging for efficiency.
Exactly, streamlining the articulation.
Okay, tea is brewed. Milk, lemon, whatever. Stage 3. Enjoying the cuppa. What final pronunciation points surface here?
Well, we see that linking a W, again, just reinforcing the pattern. She gives now I, potentially sounding like now I.
No I. Okay, so these patterns repeat. Good to know. What else?
She highlights the she sound, the say sound, like impatient or essential.
The sh sound.
Yeah, exactly, that hissy sound. It's important to get that distinct from, say, an S sound, so she draws attention to it.
Good point. And the the sounds pop up again.
They do. In a phrase like breathe in the warmth, you get the voiced A in breathe and the unvoiced in warmth right near each other.
Nice contrast in one short phrase. Reinforces the difference.
Definitely.
Does the linking you make another appearance?
It seems so, mentioned with quite the opposite, that J sound can potentially link the vowel before quite to the vowel in opposite, depending on the full sentence, again, smoothing things out.
Okay. And what about consonant linking? We saw that with T. Does it apply to other sounds, like on cold days?
Yes, same principle as finest T. Cold ends in D, days starts with D. Both plosives.
So you hold the first D slightly.
Exactly. Hold that D closure just a bit longer, don't release it fully, then go straight into the D for days, on cold days.
Got it. That hold really connects the words. And the linking Y one more time. Feel the anticipation.
Yep. Feel ends in that long I says sound. The starts with a vowel sound, or at least the weak form often does, so that little J glide can come in. Feel J, the anticipation.
Patterns everywhere.
Okay.
Okay, and the last point she highlights, something she enjoys. Double contractions.
Yes. She gives the example related to, I think, dunking a biscuit. How will not have melted gets squished down to won't have melted. Using both the will not contraction, won't, and the have auxiliary in its contracted form, it's efficient.
Won't have, definitely faster. A sign of kind of advanced fluency, perhaps.
Yeah, it's very typical of natural, fluent spoken English.
Okay. Now, Lucy also mentions a free guide that goes with the video. What's in that?
Yeah, she mentions a downloadable shadowing guide. It sounds like it goes into even more detail on all these pronunciation points we've talked about.
More examples and explanations.
Seems like it, yeah. More analysis. Plus, it apparently explains the shadowing technique itself more thoroughly, the benefits, tips for doing it effectively.
Okay.
And she mentioned a vocabulary bank too, focusing on some of the trickier words from the tea-making sequence. She really encourages people to grab it.
That sounds like a really valuable extra resource then for anyone serious about using this technique.
Absolutely. Having that kind of backup material can really help things stick, give you more to practice with.
Okay, great. So we've brewed up quite a bit of pronunciation knowledge here. Time to wrap up. What's the main takeaway from this deep dive into tea and shadowing?
I think the biggest thing is realizing that you don't need complex material to practice advanced pronunciation. Something as simple as every day as making tea can be absolutely full of learning opportunities if you know what to listen for.
Right. It's about the technique, the shadowing, and focusing on those small details.
Exactly. The linking, the held consonants, the weak forms, the rhythm. Paying attention to how things are said, not just what is said. Applying that shadowing technique consistently to this kind of detail is what really helps build that natural, fluent sound.
It really highlights that language mastery is often hidden in those tiny, seemingly minor features of speech. Okay, so a final thought for you, the listener, to mull over. Now that we've seen how much pronunciation practice is packed into making tea, what other everyday activities in your life could be secret language lessons waiting to happen? And how could you use this shadowing idea, actively listening and mimicking, to unlock them?
Yeah, think about it. Ordering coffee, listening to directions, a snippet of conversation you overhear.
Exactly. Could you tune your ear more actively to the rhythm, the intonation, the linked sounds in those moments? Maybe even silently shadow them. What ordinary parts of your day could you turn into mini pronunciation practice sessions to boost your fluency and, yeah, your confidence? Something to think about.